Hey everybody, today we are going to go over one of the hardest hurdles in learning guitar, and that is bar chords. Now what are bar chords? So if we remember anything from our open chords lessons, it's that open chords require open strings in order for them to work. Bar chords work in a different fashion, where instead of more or less relying on open strings, they rely on the use of one or more fingers, typically the first or index finger, to fret or bar across multiple strings. So to make a little sense out of the name, if we look at the word bar, bar is the French spelling of the word bar. Not the place where you go to drink alcohol with friends and strangers, but more referring to an object such as a bar of gold or silver, or a pry bar, or a crowbar. Now if we look at a chord chart of a bar chord, say B minor for example, we can see where our second, third, and fourth fingers lie. And our first finger is on two different strings, several strings apart, but on the same fret. Now obviously we can't press both of those frets with our fingertip. So we lay the finger across all of those strings in order to fret those two notes. And it is important that we fret all of those strings anyway, even though you're not going to hear those three notes where your second, third, and fourth finger are going to be. It's for consistency's sake, so that way you make sure you have a firm handle on the bar chord. And not all bar chords have to be based on the first finger. Some, like the C major here played on the A string, shows that the first finger is only fretting one note, but the third finger is actually going to bar across three different strings. Another way that we distinguish that this is a bar chord from this chart, other than the obvious fact that our fingertip can't be in two places at once, is if we look at this notation here, that's showing you you're going to fret these two different strings on the same fret, you're going to use the same finger, and this means you're going to bar all of those strings. And some chord charts will show the finger elongated across all of the strings rather than the other notation we saw in the other chord. Now in this instance, your first finger is sort of acting like a guitar's nut or a capo, because as long as your finger is placed there, that is the lowest that any of those strings that you have barred can go. They obviously can't go to any notes lower than that. So your first finger acts as sort of like a buffer, or like I said, a guitar nut or a capo. And this technique is used on tons of common guitar chords, such as, say, a B minor chord. Now, how do we make use of that? If you remember anything from the F major and F minor video that I put out recently, it's that one, since it's a more simplified version of an F major, F minor, it plays similar to kind of how a C major plays, but everything's moved down a string, and your first finger was actually barring across the top two strings here, the B and the high E. So that in essence was giving you just a slight taste of how a bar chord works, where you are using one finger to bar multiple strings. So if we remember from our open chords lessons, we went over C, A, G, E, and D. Now, those spell out the word caged. You've probably heard about the cage system at some point, and we're not really going to completely go over the full depth of that in this episode, but I will kind of go over the A and E aspects of that whole dynamic. So if we put those in alphabetical order, we see that we'll have A, C, D, E, and G. But we notice we're missing a couple of things there. We're missing a B and we're missing an F. Now why is that? Well, because B and F, both those chords, don't have any way to play them on open strings in standard tuning. So the F major and F minor video that I recently put out shows you the simplified version of that F, but we're going to go over the actual full bar chord version of F major and F minor, which that is going to be one of the hardest things you're going to have to get over as a guitarist, because it's the one horrifying thing. F major and F minor are the horrifying chords that make guitarists want to quit and light their entire house on fire. Just Realize you're going to suck for a while. It's probably going to take you at least a month more. It could take a while. Just bear in mind that nobody picks up a guitar and can just play a bar chord the first try. It's not possible. Unless you have some creepy genetic thing going on, I don't know. But we are going to go over how to play the B minor first, since it uses 5 of the strings instead of all 6. So how do we achieve that? Well, we remember from our A minor, if we play our A minor chord, we have an open A, we have our middle finger on the 2nd fret of our D string, our ring finger on the 2nd fret of our G string, and our index finger on the 1st fret of our B string. And then we have an open high E. So now we see something. Our pinky's just kind of like hanging around, just up to no good. So we need to do something about that guy and put him to work. So we're going to do that now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that same exact chord shape. Now this doesn't mean you have to change the way you've been playing A minor. We're only doing this just for this simple exercise here. So you're going to take your ring finger now and you're going to put it on the 2nd fret of your D string. You're going to take your pinky and you're going to put it on the 2nd fret of your G string. And your middle finger is going to be on the 1st fret of your B string. And you're still going to have an open A and an open high E. So same chord, but we're going to take that entire equation and we're going to move it up 2 frets here. So now we're going to have everything the way we had it. You should have your ring finger on the 4th fret of your D string. You should have your pinky on the 4th fret of your G. You should have your middle finger on the 3rd fret of your B string. And now we're going to take our 1st finger and we're going to lay it all the way from A to high E. So you're not going to be on this low E string here. Now, I understand you're not going to get that right away, and that's perfectly okay. It's going to take you a while. So an easier way to kind of get used to playing that is playing it higher up on the neck. So say play it on the 5th fret or the 7th fret. You're going to have a lot less string tension in this area, you know, somewhere in the middle of the fretboard versus over by the nut, because there is a lot more string tension, since that's kind of like a dam for the strings. So since they're going to be pretty tight right there, that's going to be really hard for you to play, especially if you're going to try to go play, you know, an A sharp minor. That's going to be a lot harder for you to get through. So let's, just for practice sake, try playing it, you know, a little bit higher, just so you can get used to it and you'll be able to more proficiently get it here. If you can get it somewhere, you'll be able to get it eventually. Another way to try to get over this feat is you're not going to obviously first make this and then lay your finger down. At first, you're really going to want to lay your finger down and then make the rest of your fingers make the chord shape. So first things first is laying down your index finger on the fretboard. So you're not going to want to have it right in the middle of the frets, because you're not going to really get a nice crisp sound out of that. It's going to struggle a little bit. It's not going to be, the intonation's not going to be good. It's going to have a lot more tension. Put it right next to the fret here, like right on that fret. Just so you're basically, your finger can't go any further than that fret. And that's what you want to be able to accomplish. So try that exercise. You know, all the way up to the 12th fret. Start at the 12th fret if you need to. And then once you can get all the way to the first fret and you can play that cleanly, you are completely golden as far as the aspect of your finger, your index finger needs to be. And then the rest is just placing fingers on making the rest of the chord. So once you can play everything on the first, second fret, like I said, you're golden. But play the chord obviously as a whole, but also try to focus a lot on just your index finger. And another thing to note is when you're doing this, you're probably going to get into this habit of trying to press down. Since you're not going to have the finger strength and dexterity yet, you're going to be trying to probably press down on your finger with other fingers, where you're going to struggle and go. Don't do that. The reason I say don't do that is because you're going to develop a bad habit about that, and you're not actually going to be able to build the strength you properly need in that finger. You're going to be cheating yourself because you're going to be using other fingers to do the work. That's not really going to help you at all in the long run. You want to be able to independently be able to press all the strings down with that one finger. Once you can do that, you'll be good. But again, you're going to be cheating yourself if you cheat on that. It's not going to do you any good. So just try to pay attention, and if you catch yourself doing that, just make a mental note of, oh, I need to not do that, and just, hold your fingers aside somewhere else. So that is the structure of B minor. Is we're going to lay our finger down, and then we're going to add that A minor shape with the rest of our fingers. So now the really awesome thing about this, kind of the same way that I had in that F major and F minor video, is that this chord shape you can literally use all over the fretboard. So you can go B minor, B flat minor, or A sharp minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, D sharp minor, E minor, F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, into A minor, and you get the general idea. So you can use that all over the neck. All right, so to get a little bit more of a first-person view on that B minor shape, when we look at our A minor shape, we're, if you've played A minor, this is the shape you're used to. So what we're going to do is, for the B minor example, we are going to change it up a bit. So we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to put it on the second fret of our D string. We're going to take our pinky, our little finger here, and we're going to put it on the second fret of the G string. We're going to take our middle finger here and we're going to put it on the first fret of that B string. So we'll still have that now we're literally just going to take that and move it up 2 frets, and we're going to lay our index finger down over top of it. And again, just get a view of that, laying the index finger down. If you can see where it's positioned to where it's right up against that fret, and where it can't move any further or else it'll go over the fret. So it's just right up hugging that fret. And then we're gonna put our middle finger down on that third fret of the B string, our pinky down on the 4th fret of the G string, and our ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and we end up with So now we're going to go over F major. Now this is the nightmare bar chord, and it's completely okay if you can't get this, because it's going to be a pain. This is going to be a nightmare. It's going to haunt your dreams, and just keep going and get through it and you'll be fine. So for playing F major, we're going to start with the E major shape. Now we remember we have an open E, and then we have an open B and a high E. So in the middle, we have our second finger, our middle finger here on our second fret of our A string, and we have our ring finger on our second fret of our D string, and our index finger on our first fret of our G string. So that's how that goes. Now we're going to do the same thing we were doing before because that pinky's still just kind of slacking off. So we're going to do our ring finger here on our second fret of our A string, our pinky on our second fret of our D string, and we're going to put our middle finger on the first fret of that G string. So we end up with that. So now we're just going to take that entire equation and we're just going to move it up one fret. So now we should have our ring finger on the third fret of our A string. We should have our pinky on the third fret of our D string, and we should have our middle finger on the second fret of our G string. So we're going to take now our first finger and we're going to lay it across the first fret of all the 6 strings of the guitar. All right, so to get a little bit more of a first-person view on that F major shape, so how this is going to look is similar to that B minor shape, where you're going to have the same exact position of your fingering that you're doing, except everything is going to move down just one whole string. You're going to whole thing down one string. So we're going to have that kind of E major shape. And you're going to move that up one fret and lay that finger down. So you want to be able to, again, right up on the fret, and you want to be able to play that cleanly. That's the end result, and once you can do that, you're golden. And it's okay if yours sound like mashed potatoes falling down a bottomless pit. It's going to happen. That's just the way it is. So again, with this chord, let's try to play something a little higher, because again, this one you can also move all over the fret just like the B minor shape. So F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, B sharp. B sharp is also C. So if we take that, say, on like the 5th fret, and we just play it as an A major, or a 7th fret and we play it as a B major, then it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of grasp the shape of that chord and be able to eventually play it on that dreaded first fret for the F major. So again, the idea is play the chord as a whole, but also just try to get in the habit of strengthening this finger, your first finger, to where you can go across all 6 strings. You know, again, from the 12th. So another cool thing about this chord shape is you simply, by playing F major, all you have to do to make it a minor is drop away your middle finger. So, and that chord can literally be used all over the fretboard as well, being an F minor, an F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp, A minor, A sharp minor, B minor, and so on and so forth, and you get the picture. So in combination with these two different types of chord structures here, or I guess three different types of chord structures, between your B minor shape, your F major, and your F minor shape, between those you can go anywhere all over the fretboard. So just have a lot of fun with those, and again, don't get too mad at yourself because it's going to take a long time before you're able to proficiently play those chords, since you have to stretch across 5 and 6 strings with just one finger. It's going to take some time and effort, so cut yourself a little slack. So just practice that, and again, it'll take time, but just stick with it. It's going to be horrifying for a little while. You'll get through it. Once you build calluses and strength and the finger dexterity, you'll look back at this one day and laugh. Maybe not so much, but at least you'll be able to play bar chords. So, hope this has been helpful, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video all over the world with anybody you think could use any of this information, and I'll see you next time because I've got more lessons coming up as well. So, take it easy. Bye.